Do you understand what it means to share a trauma bond with another person? Trauma bonding is a defining characteristic of many toxic and abusive relationships. Contrary to the misconception held by the vast majority of individuals, and it is frequently the primary reason we find ourselves unable to abandon them. Those with a history of abuse, exploitation, or emotional codependence in previous relationships are more likely to develop a trauma bond, which is a profound emotional attachment to the abuser. It is easy to mistake trauma bonds for sentiments of affection and commitment towards another person. Therefore, here are some warning indications to watch for that tell you if you are experiencing a trauma bond and not authentic affection. 1. The other individual is externally appealing. If given the option, no one would choose to pursue a romantic relationship with an abusive partner. The issue is, however, that toxic relationships do not begin in this manner. And typically, it is only after experiencing the abuse that you begin to comprehend something is awry. You may develop a trauma bond with another individual. If they appear to be attractive, compassionate, and trustworthy on the surface, do not be deceived. There may be something more ominous lingering beneath everything. 2. They are emotionally unstable. You may wonder why people don't just abandon problematic relationships once they realize they're unhealthy. But the problem is that it's much more difficult to recognize trauma bonding when it's happening to you personally, as opposed to observing it happening to someone else. This is because abusive partners are frequently emotionally manipulative as well. The following day, they may lavish you with compassion, apologies, and promises to alter their behavior. This functions as positive reinforcement to make you reconsider your decision to leave the group. 3. They tend to take out their frustrations on you. Consider the last time this companion, friend, or family member encountered terrible news or a problem. How do they typically handle it? Do they frequently take out their anger on you, even when you haven't done anything wrong? They may be utilizing you as a psychological pounding bag, and you deserve better than this. 4. They cut you off from your loved ones. Some people might think it's sweet to have someone who wants them all to themselves and gets jealous of those you spend your time with. But there's a difference between loving someone so much you want them around all the time and actively working to isolate them from the other important relationships in their lives. Does this person get angry when you spend time with people who are not them? Do they attempt to control who you associate with or ask you to avoid your friends and family? If the answer is affirmative, this is the most obvious red flag. 5. You deny or minimize their toxic behavior. Now, let's survey how the trauma bond may influence your behavior. Attempting to constantly deny or minimize the other person's wrongdoings is frequently the clearest indication that you are in a toxic relationship. We ignore all their mistreatment of us and minimize the abuse by saying things like, "Oh, it's not that bad," or "I don't mind it." Because in the moment, it's easier to just brush it off rather than confronting the harsh reality that the person you're with may be abusing you. 6. You continually make justifications for them. Once you can no longer deny or minimize what the other person has done, you must accept it. And a family member or close friend tells you that what they did to you is unacceptable. Don't allow them to treat you in this manner. You're likely to attempt to make justifications for them and defend them. Once you begin to think in this manner, it is clear that you are in a trauma bond rather than a loving relationship. 7. You are becoming more and more emotionally detached. Have you been experiencing less and less as of late? As if you are emotionally distant and emotionless. You may be feeling this way because, subconsciously, it is your mind's method of coping with the violence it has suffered at the hands of the person to whom you are trauma bonded. You cannot endure any additional suffering, dread, anger, or sorrow. Therefore, you isolate yourself from all of your emotions. You are no longer as lively, gregarious, or expressive as you once were. They are the reason for this. Additionally, you are concealing aspects of your relationship from others. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, if you begin to conceal certain aspects of your relationship from others, you know that something is undoubtedly wrong, as you would not be actively trying to hide how awful things are getting between you and your partner, if they were going well. Trauma bonding is characterized by a person's devotion to an abusive partner. Therefore, you may become defensive or even angry when others attempt to intervene in your relationship and provide assistance. Do you identify with any of the aforementioned points? If you or someone you know is caught in an abusive trauma bond, do not be afraid to speak out and immediately seek professional assistance.